Shooter most bigger at your service. It is Deimos versus Dark Riku here. Deimos is going to be playing as the mech boy and Dark Riku going to be playing as the Warp Spider Exarch. Therefore, we have a lot of teleporting that's going to be happening today. We're on Ashes of Typhon. We've got some very black, sleek-looking Guardians over here for the Elder. Be interesting to see if he's going to go for the double Guardian opening or going to be going for the typical 2-gen opening. Presumably going for that right now because we don't see the additional Guardian coming out yet for Riku. Now, this is going to leave him very vulnerable in the opening here. Of course, being one squad down. Banshee is slightly stronger in the early game than the Sluggers, so that will help Dark Riku. But I would argue that the Warp Spider Exarch is weaker than the Mech Boy. He's got less range DPS. As you can see, very similar HP. He actually has more melee damage, so if the Spider meets the Mech Boy, the Spider can just melee the Mech Boy to death, which is kind of cool. But the Mech Boy has fire on the move, which the Spider lacks, which is quite a big deal. Look at this. Look at all this chip that's coming into the Banshees right now. And the Banshees need to disengage here. Yeah. Obviously fighting 3 squads, not being full health thanks to the chip. That's a problem. You see what I'm talking about there, the Warp Spider Exarch has a melee charge as well. Just going to get into melee with the Mech Boy and we'll win that fight, but of course with supporting shooters on the way, it will be difficult for the Spider. This is a good spot for him though, because he's actually in the yellow cover right now. So he's not taking much damage at all. Of course he's got the resistance against range damage just from being in melee, in addition to the protection with the cover as well. So he's just stalling. Of course, this is the whole point, because Riku has his 2 gens up. Deimos only got 1 gen. Deimos probably going to be going for the fast Storm Boys. Of course, the Shuriken coming out for Dark Riku. But Dark Riku will be able to get his second tier 1.5 squad out a lot faster than Deimos will here. But compositionally, once the Storm Boys are on the field, of course, Deimos is still in a fantastic position. So, I mean, this is how it works. There's a massive window in the early game here where the Orcs have a big advantage when you go for this double gen build as the Eldar. You're really on the back foot. And you can see that that is the case. He's losing a lot of map control here as Dark Riku. But the most important thing for him is not losing his generators. Probably going to want to get some upgrades on his Warp Spider Exarch. Getting the improved targeters in addition to the heavy gauge filament is quite a good combo. You never want to get the targeters on their own, because remember the targeters are a 50% DPS increase, so they're way more cost efficient if you have a weapon upgrade and are doing more damage in the first place. I mean, just getting a weapon upgrade will basically give you more DPS than you'd get from getting the 50% DPS upgrade from the targeters, which keeps things into perspective. But the filament's quite useful in general against the Mech Boy, being able to stun him. So we'll see if he wants to go for that. He probably would rather not, because he probably wants to get... Okay, he's going for it. I was going to say, there is also wanting to get the Entangling Web in Tier 2, which also gives you a nice increase in your DPS, but it gives you that beautiful Entangling Web ability that immobilizes a squad. Very good against jump squads. Wait for them to jump in, immobilize them, and then chuck a grenade on them with your Guardians. Can be very effective. But let's see. So second Shuriken here, out for Riku. Now Riku's pushing back. Looks like the Storm Boy's overextended. Going to use his filament there on the Mech Boy. You see him getting stunned, which means he can no longer teleport away. Mech Boy's picked up the Daka. Pretty sizable increase in DPS for him. It's like a 60% increase or something. Should be able to kill one of these shooter boys and then retreat. Oh wow, slow reaction from Riku. Wow. He cut that close with 6 HP. Doesn't feel like the best spot here for the Storm Boys. Ooh, a little bit short on their secondary jump, and now potentially a grenade in retreat path. Let's see if Riku can get it. No, he misfroze it. Oh, that could have been big. Even if you're just killing a couple of models from these Storm Boys, you got to remember Storm Boys cost power to reinforce. So it will delay Deimos' tech quite a bit. And if we look at the economies here, Deimos is significantly behind in his eco. That's because he's gone for the wow, he's fully upgraded both of his shooters. That is heavy commitment to his shooters. Deimos really needs to get some sort of gen bash going now. Otherwise, a warlock on these guardians and some fast warp spiders, or just a fast wraith lord, could be problematic. Against a mech boy, I'll be honest, I think going for vehicles is a lot weaker than either of the other two orc heroes. The ability of the mech boy to double up on any other AV that he gets with his own beamy death gun, which he can then teleport around, is very scary for vehicles. Especially the Falcon. At least the Wraith Lord has a lot more HP, but the Falcon's meant to escape with its mobility. You can't really do that when the AV setup team is teleporting after you. So I would definitely not be going for a Falcon against a mech boy, but a Wraith Lord rush could work here. Riku is doing well in terms of the tech lead, and once again, layering his shurikens perfectly. The Storm Boys only going into the initial one. Deimos must have obviously thought the shuriken was elsewhere, perhaps down here. Now he knows the shuriken isn't down here, so he's pushing against the natural with the Shooter Boys. He's got Slugger Boys coming in here. I don't really know what the Slugger Boys are doing here. Okay, they're rotating. Perhaps they were going to go try and burn one of the gens, but of course they see this other shuriken now is rotating to defend the farm. That of course opens up Deimos on this side to attack with his Shooter Boys and take back the VP. VPs are in favour of Deimos, but this is what you'd expect, right? Deimos is the one who has invested more in tier 1. He had the less greedy build. He will gain an early game advantage. But can Riku turn it around with his tech lead? Deimos is now going tier 2 as well. But you'll see if you look down at the resources here, that Riku has quite a pile of resources, whereas Deimos is basically out. Of course, Riku just finishing his tier 2 now. It's quite low in power though, actually. He's only just purchasing his aspect of strength now in his banshees, which I find very odd. I don't really understand the timing. He's got to tier 2 first. Why get the aspect now if you've decided to not get it for all the tier 1? Wow, and he goes for the Banshee Exarch as well. Okay, he really needs to drop down the spiders, but I assume he doesn't have the red for it. Which is really bad. He's basically wasting all of his tech lead right now, Dark Riku. Oh, that's a really, really bad play by Riku there. He's just thrown all of his tech lead. Because his Banshees there fought before they even got their upgrades. So even though he got to tier 2 first and he invested in the Banshees first, the Banshees didn't even win the fight and had to retreat. So now, once again, Deimos is pushing Dark Riku back tremendously, and Dark Riku doesn't even have anything to show for it. By the time he gets a vehicle out, Deimos could have a vehicle coming out. We'll see. I think a Death Dread could be pretty good here for Deimos. Just keep it default. Force the Bright Lance to counter it. If there's no Warp Spiders, then a Bright Lance on its own will not be very effective. Of course, the Banshees here do have their heavy melee, but again, it's a Death Dread, so it's got melee resist, so shouldn't be too scared of the Banshees. I wouldn't go for a War Truck, just because the Warp Spiders, which are so common when you're playing against the Warp Spider Exarch, they can put a lot of pressure onto the War Truck just with their Haywire Grenades on rear armor. So yeah, it's going to be a Death Dread from Deimos. And you see what that'll do is that'll force one of the shurikens to lose its shuriken cannon and go to a Bright Lance. And when that happens, the Storm Boys can then do a lot more work. So then you get the battery pack on your Mech Boy, as well as your Knobs on your Sluggers and your Storm Boys. It's getting Bomber Boys as well. Increases the range of his jump, as well as giving him that really cool Suicide Bomb ability. So yeah, then you get your battery pack and you can support them, and basically the Orc Melee now with their Knobs is going to put in a lot of work, and you see it there, slays the Warp Spider Exarch. Warp Spider squad being called down. A lot of resources for Riku. Riku only just got the red now. You can see the red cost there, really prohibitive for Riku. But just think how far, I mean you guys can check the timer here, but think how long ago it was that Riku got to tier 2. And he's only just dropping his first tier 2 purchase down now. Stormboy's in a potentially bad situation. Oh no, the Banshees had to retreat. They got caught by the Death Dread. Okay, the Stormboys are fine. I was just thinking the Banshees would be in retreat. But no, the Death Dread dealt with that. And Death Dread now has the Burners and Bits, and it's actually in a pretty good situation. Burners doing a lot of damage to the Guardians. They're going to force them away. We do have the Haywire Grenade there, but we don't have a Bright Lance coming in yet. But Deimos doesn't want to risk it. He sees the haywire, and of course he knows there's a Guardian Weapons team here. He probably thought that the Bright Lance would have been coming a lot sooner. Of course, he could have finished the Gem Bash here, but he doesn't know, so it's the correct play. He wouldn't want to sit in that while snared by the haywire. Riku going to repurchase his Warp Spider Exarch. Not really seen the Warp Spider Exarch gain a lot of value. It's quite an unfortunate map for him, actually. He gains a lot of value against the shooter boys on maps with a lot of green cover, but this map's notorious for having practically zero green cover, which makes the shooter boys able to dispatch him a lot quicker before he can peel off their models. No targeters on him either. I think that probably would be a good purchase. Riku's got a ridiculous amount of power right now, not really any requisitions, so hero upgrades are always good. Upgrades in general, they cost mostly power and not really much requisitions, so that would help his economy out right now. He's going to have to be really careful about bleed. This does not look like a very good engagement for the Banshees. I don't know what they're doing here. Running into a Death Dread and upgraded Sluggers? Yeah, they're getting wrecked. Beautiful special there from the Slugger Knob. Grenade is a bit of a... does a bit of a hit, but yeah, here we go. Storm Boys jumping on the Bright Lance in the rear. Bright Lance did get a little bit of chip damage into the Death Dread, but you've seen a battery pack heal then coming onto the Sluggers, and now the Sluggers are running rampant over the Warp Spider Exarch, using the Bomber Boys there to knock over the Warp Spider squad. Is a good way to control them. Generally, what you want to do with those Warp Spiders is you want to force them to waste their teleport and then hit them with something that can cause them to retreat afterwards. So the combination of Bomber Boys plus the Storm Boys jump can be effective. You can Bomber Boys them to knock them out of cover when they're on their ass and they've took that bit of chip damage, and they're out of cover, then you can focus fire them with your shooters. But the shooters have been elsewhere. I guess they've been down the bottom mostly. Warp Spider Exarch seems to have dealt with them, which is quite effective. Now Banshee Exarch coming in. Quite a timely situation there, but ultimately getting wrecked. I mean, a lot of damage coming in from the Mech Boy here. Oh wow, beautiful damage from the Bomber Boys as well. They're nearly wiping the Banshees. I think the Mech probably could have got that kill, but Deimos playing it safe, and that's fine. Warp Spiders are present, they do a lot of damage. It'd be dangerous chasing after that kill. Deimos definitely has the advantage right now, so I like that he's playing it safe. Definitely a good situation for him. Just going to tie up this shuriken. Not really anything that it can do, to be honest. Anyway, now the Mech Boy, though, can get onto the VP. He's not took his natural, though. The Warp Spider's done a great job down there, capturing both of these points. Shooters coming out to try and zone him. And Deimos going to be going to tier 3, feeling very confident right now. Looks like the Guardians and the Spiders have gone up to the contested. They're going to be taking that back from Riku. Riku is quite behind on VPs right now. And we're going to see the Filament. There's the Filament. Shuts the Mech Boy up for a while, but unfortunately the Mech Boy has got more boys coming to help him. A gaggle of shooter boys. Can the Bright Lance see the shuriken? See the Death Dread? Apparently not. Good retreat timing there, and the Mech Boy retreats instantly as the Warp Spiders ambush him. And he will get out. Nice and safe. Bit slow there, moving up the Bright Lance. It's going to be needed to try and finish off this Death Dread, especially with the Sluggers nearby as well. You can't rely on just the Banshees and the Haywire to take it out. You need the Bright Lance. Oh, the Bright Lance has got caught by Storm Boys. That's not good. Ooh, the DPS from the Spiders is actually going to help the Banshees kill these Sluggers. Nice! Now Banshees need to get out of there before the Death Dread kills them. Oh wow, that's so close. Okay, it looks like Riku did get his units away from the Storm Boys. In fact, he caught the Storm Boys there. A little bit of a missed macro from Deimos. Storm Boys got caught by the Shuriken repositioning itself, and the Storm Boys were forced off. Okay, that's a win for Riku, but the problem for Riku is he's bleeding so many resources. Again, he has an absolutely absurd amount of power and just no requisition right now. Whereas Deimos has managed to get to tier 3, also has a wonderful surplus of power, but his economy is generally a lot more balanced. I'll be curious to see what he chooses as a first purchase. Commandos would be good. Honestly, a looted tank wouldn't even be that bad on this kind of map. Some big map. It's an open map. Well, it's laney, but it doesn't have too many shot blockers, which can be quite nice for a tank. Ultimately, Riku only has one Bright Lance right now as well, so it can't be everywhere. So wherever the Bright Lance is, you can send the Death Dread or the looted tank on the other side and feel pretty safe about it. I guess the Howling Banshees plus the Haywire could threaten a tank a little bit, but, you know, micro it well shouldn't be a problem. But he's gone for the Commandos, which again are probably the safer play. Very hard to wipe a Commando squad. Commandos do a deceptively high amount of range damage as well. They're actually very similar to the Shooter Boys with their big shooters and the Shooter Knob, just with their own 5 little Commando shooters. But of course, they also get the Burner Bomb Love the Daka combo, and if Deimos can accumulate a little bit more red, they will be able to do the Love the Daka into a Rocks, which is an infamous combo for the Orcs. One of the best ways, probably, to set up their nuke other than a beautiful Warp Bomb from the Weird Boy. Forcing the knockback on the enemy, even if they retreat straight away, the amount of time it takes the units to stand up means that they will get wrecked by the big rock. And here we see some Love the Daka just to control the Banshees, shut them up for a while, stop them hacking away at the Death Dread, so it can regain its composure after that Haywire grenade. And a big push here from the Orcs. Commandos are going to be capping the point. Commandos do cap 50% faster. So that's a nice utility piece here. And Dark Riku only now, guys, is Dark Riku getting the Wraith Lord. Okay, now he's cancelled it. Dark Riku doesn't know what to do. I mean, Dark Riku's not in a good position, if I'm being honest with you. He's in a pretty bad spot right now. He should have got the Wraith Lord a long time ago. I mean, like 10 minutes ago. He really messed up his tier 2 tech. He was clearly adamant that he wanted to get the Warp Spiders, and he wanted to get them via the Global to get them cheap. But it's not worth it if it means you tech to tier 2 first and then you don't have any units for ages. Honestly, he should have just bought it manually. Wow, are they going to wipe you? Close. He should just bought the Warp Spider squad manually, and then, look, another Love the Daka and a battery pack heal on the Death Dread too. He should have bought the Warp Spider squad manually, and then later called down a second Warp Spider squad with his global. Warp Spiders are great. I mean, look at what Deimos is building right now. He's building Commandos. You can kill the Commandos with the Spiders. It's not great. You don't want to stand out in the open and trade with them, but, you know, you're a Warp Spider squad. You don't need to be stood out in the open. I mean, Commandos can try and force you out of cover with their burner bombs, or they love the Daka, especially if they're in numbers with the shooters. But, you know, that's why you have 2. And you have Guardians, which trade very well in tier 2 against shooters. Of course, Dark Riku has lost his Guardians here. And Deimos now has a second Commando squad coming out. So Deimos is in a fantastic position here. So I was hoping for a little bit closer of a game here. I can't really see how Dark Riku would win this. If he does, I mean, holy shit, Deimos has done the biggest throw I've seen in, well, certainly in 2024. But no, seriously, that'd be like the biggest throw I've seen in 2024 or 2023. There's no way Deimos can lose this. Look at the roster. This is crazy. I mean, Dark Riku's tier 3. I guess he has the resources for an Eldritch, but this is hopeless. Look at this. So much bleed. He's getting a Fire Prism, but you've got potentially a Beamy Deathgun Mech Boy, and you've got 2 infiltrating Commando squads, the Knob leader of which has a rocket launcher as powerful as 3 Tank Buster models. But he can infiltrate, so he's just going to get behind the Fire Prism, and there's 2 of them. There's no hope for poor Riku, especially when he's on 100 VPs. I believe, well, I know it was from the League, this game, but I don't know what part of the Elite League it was in. I don't know if this was like the finals, or if this was a group stage game. I don't know. So Deimos submitted this one and another one, so it might have been like a pair of games for his, I don't know, like a you know, full set of matches that he played against Riku at some point in the tournament. Maybe that was the intention behind the cast. I mean, It was a relatively long game featuring tier 3 units, but really I feel like that Riku just threw the whole game in early tier 2. I mean, you know, obviously kudos, he kept trying to play, and certainly your opponents can always throw, so it's worth doing that in Dawn of War 2, playing it out. It's very easy to lose a squad. Oh, here we go. I love the Daka into the rocks. Misplayed, really. This should have been here. Like, the rocks was too far down. Needed to be back a bit more. The rock always falls in the same place. It always falls in the top left of the circle. So if you put it like here, you get it boom. And then that would have just wiped both those squads. Not too far off, to be fair. And now the Fire Prism just showing its arse. Some commandos. Pop. Even when one of the rockets misses, you can see the amount of damage that does. And there's a beamy mech gun. Punching and kicking. A Guardian weapon team over there. Oh dear. Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. That was a bit of What Spider Exarch and Mech Boy. I will say there is definitely going to be some Eldar buffs coming in the next patch, whenever that happens. I mean, it's probably going to be another 2 or 3 months or so, but there will definitely be some Eldar buffs, that's for sure. Especially acknowledgement of their late game being rather terrible. Yeah, I'm not sure about the Eldritch there. Killed more Banshees than it killed Orc boys. Yeah. A desperate death's throw there from our friend Riku. But a little bit of the teleporting action there. Cool to see. It's nice because it's a clear showcase of the matchup. I think it's quite obvious here what went wrong for Dark Riku. And I think it's a lesson to be learnt with a red. Red's a bitch when you're trying to call down a summoned unit and you really want that unit. You've been planning your composition around that unit, but you just can't get the damn red. You gotta suck it up and just say, hey, I'm gonna have to change my game plan, because if I don't buy anything for 5 minutes now waiting for the red, and I've done a fast tech to achieve this position, I'm gonna throw all advantages that I've got from my fast tech away. And that's exactly what Dark Riku did, the result of which can be seen right here with Deimos winning with 423 VPs left. Hope you did enjoy that one, folks. Thanks for your support on the Patreon. Torpid signing out. And we'll get the other League series now up on the main channel. They're going to be flying out now as I'm off to record them.